and welcome to my basic Avid class here. Once again, my name is Jason Rose. I'm an editor. I've been editing for, 30 years. I've also been pursuing filmmaking in that same amount of time, and I have been teaching editing for the last 15 years as a certified instructor in pretty much all the main editing programs that we use here in Hollywood. So for those of you that took a look at my Premiere Basics class, I'm going to try to cover essentially the same topics in Avid. And I'm really just trying to show you guys that no matter what editing program you're working on, they all have to basically do the same thing. You have to be able to get media in, you have to be able to organize that media, you have to edit that media into a sequence, and then you have to export it. Okay, so a lot of them have these same features. They just might look a little different. They might call them a different name. Obviously different keyboard shortcuts and the interfaces might look a little different, but they all have to cover these basic tasks. So once again, if you just want to sit back and watch this class, you can, but if you want to follow along with me as I do these lessons, you can purchase and download the media for this class for $9.95. I'll put a link in the description below, or you can also go to my website, filmschooled.com, to find the media there. And once again, if you are interested in all of these classes, I've done a Premiere one already, I'm doing the Avid one, and I'm going to do DaVinci Resolve, where I cover these same topics using the same media. So you just have to download the media once and you can do all three classes. And once again, just purchasing the media makes it a little easier for me to do these classes because I shoot my own media, so there are no copyright issues or anything like that. But we do pay our actors, we pay our crew and stuff like that. And paying for and downloading the media goes to help make that happen. Okay, so with that, I want to go ahead and jump right into this. I'm going to go ahead and launch Avid, and we're just going to take a look at the Avid interface, and we're going to create a new project. We're going to get media into that project, and then we're just going to work our way through building a simple sequence using basic editing techniques. Now, I am going to go eventually and do more intermediate classes and advanced classes, but for right now, these classes are probably more for the beginning editor, or maybe if you're switching from one program to another and you want to just kind of, get your feet wet in the new program, this is the class for you. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Avid, and Avid can take a few seconds to launch here. It's kind of one of the slower ones starting up, so we'll give that a moment here. And when you first launch Avid, this is the first window that you come to, the Select Project window. And this is where we can open existing projects or create new projects. Now, I'm going to do a deep dive into this window in other lessons, but for right now, I want to focus on just a few things. First of all, we want to create a new project. So we're just going to start at the top and work our way down. So we're going to click this little new project button right there. User profile. The user profile is you and how you like to work with the Avid. So the important thing about the user profile is there are settings within Avid called user settings. And this is how you like to work within the Avid. This is how you create custom keyboards, custom interface layouts, and things like that. And the nice thing about a user profile is you can take it with you. Okay, so right here, if you haven't already done this, go ahead and click this drop-down menu, and we're going to create a user profile. I have a couple of user profiles on mine. First of all, you have a default user profile named after whatever you've named your computer, and then you've got other profiles. This is one I have for an MC 101 class that I've been teaching. If you're working at a facility, when you click this drop-down menu, you might see a long list of names. of your fellow editors and assistant editors that share the same system with you, and they have their particular way of working with the Avid. But I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to click Create User Profile. And you've got three choices. Typically in the past you had one choice, just Media Composer, the standard user profile. But there is what they call Media Composer Classic, which rearranges your windows to look more like past versions of Avid. And then there's one called Transitioning from Premiere Pro. And this is for Premiere Pro editors that are trying to adopt Avid, but they want to make it look, or at least the windows be in the same place that they are in Premiere Pro. We're just going to go with the standard Media Composer profile. And then, of course, you're going to name your profile. Typically, you name it after yourself. So I'm just going to call mine Jason R. And I'm going to click OK. And that will create a new user profile, which you'll now be able to see under this menu. And it'll start with all of the default settings. And we're going to stick with those through most of this particular class. Next, there is location, where you're going to put the project that you're about to create. We're going to click this little drop-down menu here, and there's a default location that Avid automatically creates when you install the software on your system. It creates a folder inside your Documents folder called Avid Projects. And once again, we're going to keep it simple for this class. We're just going to put it there. But you'll see there's also a shared Avid Projects folder, and if you want to put your project somewhere else, you can click this little Browse button here. That will open up a Finder window, and then you could go navigate and you could essentially put your project wherever you want. Okay, but we're going to leave it in Documents, Avid Projects. Next, for project name, we're just going to call this Scene 20. Scene 20, this is from a script that I wrote years ago, and we're just going to do a simple two-person dialogue scene. So we're going to call this Scene 20. And then for settings, we're going to select Choose For Me. Choose For Me. And what this is going to do is it's going to set your project format based on the first clip you edit into your timeline. Okay, now that is a fairly new feature within Avid. Traditionally, you choose your project format before you create your project. Now, if you're working on an older version of Avid that does not have this option to choose for me, you're going to go to Format, 1080, 1080p 24. Format, HD 1080, 1080p 24. And that's going to set the project up based on the media that we're working with. Okay, but otherwise, if you're working on the current version of Avid, we're going to have it choose for us. We're going to have it do it for us. Because once again, the whole point of this particular lesson is to get us in and editing as quickly as possible. When we get to the more advanced classes, I'll discuss, setting your project format up ahead of time, just so we can cover that. But for right now, we're going to say choose for me. And then once again, if you don't have that option, go to Format, HD 1080, 1080p 24. That will match the media that we're using for this project. Okay, so we're going to say choose for me. We're going to call this Scene 20. We've created a new user profile. We've chosen our location, Documents, Avid Projects. Then we're going to go down to the bottom right corner here. We're going to click Create. And that's going to create a brand new empty project. Just to make sure we're all kind of looking at the same thing, I'm going to go up to the Windows menu. I'm going to go to Workspaces, make sure my editing workspace is selected, and I'm going to choose Restore Current to Default, Restore Current to Default, and then I'm going to click Restore and just make sure that everything is kind of at the default settings. Okay, so since we selected the option for Choose For Me, Avid has automatically created a couple of items in our project here. So here is the basic layout of Avid. We have three main menus. Up here in the upper left, we have what's called the bin container. And the bin container is made up of the bin container sidebar, and then your bins open up over here on the right side of the window. Okay, and there's a little border here that we can use to kind of resize those. Okay, so this is the bin container. And then here we have what's called the composer. On the left of the composer, we have what's called the source monitor, where we view and mark our source clips. And then over here, we have what Avid calls the record monitor. This is where we view our edited sequence. Down here, we have the timeline. And in Avid, you can use the timeline to both view your sequences, but you can also use it to view your source clips. Okay, so we're going to focus on the bin container over here. So we have two bins. We have scene 20 clips, and we have scene 20 sequences. Those were automatically created when we created the project here. And they're both open. So if we go over here, we see scene 20 clips. There's a tab for that. And then scene 20 sequences. Okay, so we need to first of all get media into our project. So that's what our scene 20 clips bin is. So if you look right here, it says drag from source browser to add clips to project. Okay, drag from source browser to add clips to project. So this is basically telling us what we need to do to get things started. We need to get some media into our project, and there's a tool for that called the source browser. So to open up the source browser, there are at least 3 different ways to do this. You can either go to File, Input, Source Browser. You can also go to the Tools menu, Source Browser. Or if you have an open bin like we do, we can just right-click in the bin. That's going to open up a contextual menu. And you can go to Input, Source Browser. And that's going to open up this window. To move the source browser around, just grab the gray bar at the top and just kind of move it around here. If you want to close it, get out of the way, there's a little red X in the upper left corner. You can click that. That'll close it. And then to open it back up, we can right-click, Input, Source Browser. Okay, so the source browser is for doing just that, browsing your media, going and finding the media that you want to bring into your project. So right here on the left, we've got the Explore window that's going to show you all the drives that are hooked up to your system as well as your desktop. Over here, we have the File Folder View area where you can view the files and folders at that location. And then down here, we have options like whether we want to link to the media or import the media, and then what bin we want these clips to go into. Okay, so if you've downloaded and unzipped the media for this project, in fact, let's take a look at that on my system. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, Command-H to hide Avid, Command-H to hide Avid. And I have a drive called Media 002, my Media 2 drive. And I have downloaded the media, which once again, there's a link to download this, where you can purchase and download this media for $9.95 in the description below this video. And when you unzip it, you end up with a folder called Scene 20 Clips that's full of a bunch of QuickTime movies, as well as the script for this particular scene. Okay, so this is where the media is on my system. It's on this external drive in a folder called Scene 20 Clips. So I'm going to go back to Avid. And over here in the Explore window, I'm going to click on my Media 2 drive. And when I click it, I can see the files and folders that are at that location. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Scene 20 Clips folder. And now I can see all the files that are in that folder. I'm just going to grab the corner of this and pull it down just so we can see a little bit more at once here. Okay, so we have 2 different views here. Right now, I am in what's called a list text view, which basically gives us a list of all the clips, and we can find out information about the clips like the name of the clips, obviously, the size of the clip, the type of file that they are. If we scroll over, I can get other information like how have they been compressed, what is the codec for these. We've got the frame size, also called raster dimension, 1920 by 1080, and so on. Frames per second, 24 frames per second. Okay, all the information we need about these clips. But there's another view. Okay, right down here in the bottom left corner of this window, there's text view, and then there's a button for frame view. And frame view is going to give me a frame, or sometimes called thumbnail view, of these clips. Right here is a slider that I can use to make those frames larger or smaller. And the whole point of the source browser is that we can go here and we can watch these clips before we officially bring them into the project. Okay, once again, it's for browsing our source media. So if you just move your mouse over these clips, it scrubs through the clips. Okay, in Premiere, they call this hover scrub. You hover your mouse over a clip and it scrubs through the clips. But we can also select a clip and simply hit our space bar to play it.
20. Come on in.
Okay, we're about to roll.
You want to be over there or over there?
She can just stay there for this
All
one.
right. Scene 20, take 1.
Okay. Here we go, and action.
Lunchtime. No.
Okay, so once again, the whole point of the source browser is that we can go through and we can watch our clips before we officially bring them into the project. Okay, now, what we're going to do here is we're going to link to this media. We're just going to use it directly from where it is on our system. Okay, we've got the choice of link or import. Import is going to create new media that it's going to put in a specific location for Avid to use it. But we're going to say link. So here's how we're going to approach that. First of all, let's go back into text view. We're going to select the very first clip, this 20, take 1, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to shift click on the last MOV file. We're not going to select the PDF. Okay, so we're selecting all of our media files. We're going to make sure that link is selected. Make sure your target bin, the bin that these clips are going to go into, is Scene 20 Clips. And then click link. And boom, those clips are now going to show up in your Scene 20 Clips bin. We're done with the source browser. So we're going to close this. And if we take a look at the tab up here for the Scene 20 Clips bin, there's a little asterisk to the left of the name. And that means that a change has been made to this bin, but those changes haven't been saved yet. Okay, so we're going to hit Command S to save it. And the asterisk will go away, and that's how we know the bin has been saved. That would be Control S on a Windows system. Next, I want to make sure that these clips are sorted by name. So I'm going to go up here to the name column heading, and I'm going to double click it. And that's going to sort the clips by name. If I wanted to say sort the clips by duration, I could go to the duration column heading and double click that. And now they're sorted by duration. Okay, so whichever column header is the active column, it's going to sort them that way. So we're going to go back over to name. We're going to double click it. Now, we're going to keep most of these clips in the Scene 20 Clips bin. Okay, but there are some other clips here that don't have a name. They do belong with this scene, but these are actually just what we would call cutaways or B-roll, different shots that we might use to kind of create our opening sequence here. They're just kind of a bunch of shots from around one of the characters' desks, but we're going to use that. We're going to put these in a different bin. Okay, so the whole point of the bin container is this is how we organize our project. So right now I just have 2 bins over here, but I want to create a new bin. To create a new bin, we can either go File, New, New Bin. Keyboard shortcut is Command N. Or we can go over here to the bin container sidebar, right-click, New Bin. That's going to create a brand new bin. It's going to automatically highlight the name, and we're going to call this Cutaways. Cutaways. And it opens it up over here. Now we've got an empty bin. So if we look at the top of the bin container, here's Scene 20 clips, here's Cutaways, here's our Scene 20 sequences. Okay, so we want to move these clips, all the clips that start with A001, into the Cutaways bin. So I'm going to click on the first one. I'm going to shift click on the last one. And then I'm going to click and drag from the icon, not the name. Don't get out of the habit right now of clicking on the names. Because if you click on the name kind of too slowly, it's going to highlight the name as though you're going to change it. Okay, so once again, I make sure I'm clicking on the icons when I do this type of stuff. So I'm going to click on the icon for that first A001 clip. I'm going to shift click on the bottom one, and then I'm going to click and drag them over to the bin container sidebar, and I'm going to drop them on the Cutaways bin. And it moves them from the Scene 20 clips bin to the Cutaways bin. And you'll notice that we now have an asterisk beside both of those bin names in the tabs at the top of the bin container. To save both of them at the same time, we can go over to the bin container sidebar, click on it to make it the active window, and then hit Command S. And that will save all of your bins at once. Otherwise, if you're clicked over here on one bin and hit Command S, it's just going to save that one bin. Okay, so let's go back over to Scene 20 clips. And let's talk about different ways we can view these clips in the bin. So at the top of the bin are different bin views. We have text view, which is like a list of your clips. We have frame view, what some people might also call thumbnail view. And then we have what's called script view, which is like a combination of script view and frame view. Okay, let's focus on frame view. Let's go back to frame view. We're going to click that button. Here's the first keyboard shortcut I want you to learn. Command L is going to make those frames larger. Command K is going to make those frames smaller. Command L, Command K. Now there is a slider up here that does the same thing. However, you're going to find those keyboard shortcuts are useful throughout the program. Command L, Command K. On a Windows system, Control L, Control K. Okay, the other thing I want you to learn is this. In the upper left corner of the bin is what's called a fast menu. And to see as many clips as possible in this bin when you're in frame view, you can go to the fast menu, go to Align and Fill, and choose Fill Window. Fast menu, Align and Fill, Fill Window. And that will make as many clips as possible fit into that window. Okay, so once again, that is Fast Menu, Align and Fill, Fill Window. Now, if I resize these windows, you can actually grab the border between two windows and drag to resize them. If I were to resize that bin container and then go Fast Menu, Align and Fill, Fill Window, boom. Now it'll once again make as many clips as possible fit into that window. I'm going to go back, Fast Menu, Align and Fill, Fill Window. Now, if you have a clip selected in the bin, if you have a clip or multiple clips selected, and you go to the fast menu, you're going to get a much longer fast menu. because now Avid's not sure if you want to make changes to the bin or the selected clips. Okay, but don't worry. If we go all the way down here, Align and Fill window is still here. It's just moved further down the list. Okay, so here is what's kind of cool about Frame View. I'm going to make these frames a little larger. And then I'm just going to click on a clip. And I'm going to hit the space bar to play it.
Scene 20B, take 2.
Okay. Go and action.
Lunchtime. Just a minute. No, now.
Okay, so we can play these clips directly in Frame View in the bin without having to load them into the source monitor. Okay, now I'm going to show you a few keyboard shortcuts. First of all, if you're working with an extended keyboard with a home and an end key, the home key will jump to the beginning of the clip. The end key will jump to the end of the clip. Home and end. You can also use your J, K, and L keys to play through the clip. L will play forward.
Scene 20B, take 2.
K will pause it, and J will play backwards. Also, the more you hit L or J, the faster it plays. So I can hit L,
Scene 20B, take 2.
then I can hit it again, and again. Once again, K will pause it, J will play backwards. The more you hit J, the faster it will play backwards. Okay, so that's J, K, and L. You can also use the keys going across the top of your keyboard to step through the clip. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 3 and 4 will step forward or backwards one frame at a time. So 3 and 4 step forward or backwards one frame at a time. 1 and 2 step forward or backwards 10 frames at a time. Okay, so 3 and 4, 1 frame forward, 1 frame backwards. 1 and 2, 10 frame forward, 10 frame backwards. Now, aside from using this to preview the clip, you can also use this to choose a different poster frame for the clip. Okay, so let me show you how that might work. So, for example, most of these shots, we see the slate at the beginning of the shot. And some of them, the slate is kind of in the way. And the whole point of Frame View is that we can quickly look at these clips and kind of see what's going on in the shot. Okay, so if I wanted to get the slate out of the way, here's what I might do. I might start by selecting all the clips in the bin. I can do that by clicking in the bin and hitting Command A on my keyboard. Command A is the keyboard shortcut for select all. Shift Command A is deselect all. So Command A to select all, be Control A on a Windows system. And then I could tap on the number 2 key, and that's going to move all the selected clips forward 10 frames at a time. And I would simply do that until I no longer see the slates in any of the shots. And that's going to give me a better poster frame where I can just quickly look at those shots and kind of see what's going on. Okay, so those are different ways that you can play through a clip while it's still in the bin. Once again, you can click on a clip, spacebar to play.
Okay.
And pause it. You can use J, K, and L. L to play forward.
What's this?
K to pause it. J to play backwards.
Says no.
If you want to go fast, you can hit L or J multiple times. and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4, forward or back 1 frame at a time. 1 and 2, forward or back 10 frames at a time. You can also use the 5 key to do the same thing as the space bar. Play.
What's this? Green tea.
And pause the clip. Okay, but now let's view the clips in our source monitor because we're about ready to start editing. So at this point, here's what I would do. First of all, you want to go through and you want to watch all of your media before you even start editing. Okay, so to load a clip into the source monitor, you can either double-click a clip to load it into the source monitor. You can also select a clip and drag it from the bin to the middle of the source monitor to load it there. Or you can select a clip and hit return on your keyboard, and that will load the clip into the source monitor. Once the clip is in your source monitor, you can play it the same way that we did in the bin. I can hit my space bar to play and pause the clip. I can use J, K, and L. L to play forward.
Scene 20, take 4.
The more you hit L, the faster it plays. K will pause it. J will play backwards. The more you hit J, the faster it plays backwards. And once again, K pauses it. 1, 2, 3, and 4 do the same thing. 3 and 4 step forward or back 1 frame at a time. 1 and 2 step forward and back 10 frames at a time. 5 key does the same thing as the space bar. Play and pause. Once again, if you have a home key, you can hit the home key to go to the beginning of the clip, end key to go to the end of the clip. Home and end. And so what I would do is go through, watch the media. Also take a look at your script. So in the folder, if you did download the media, there is a script for this scene. It's 4 or 5 pages long. Go through, read that, just so you're comfortable and know the scene pretty well. Pause this video, do that, and when we come back, we will start with our basic editing.